Welcome Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Hi everyone, Daphne Lage here. Join Nita Lanning and me on the Ragin' 2 The Vlogs show, where we talk about everything, nothing, and all the bits in between. Looking for hour-long conversations about indie comics, social media marketing, and crowdfunding, with the occasional rant and story time? Head on over to the Ragin' 2 channel on YouTube, Mondays through Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern to join in the chat.
Hit the button.
Ed Gein, Demon Hunter, on Indiegogo. After a deranged demon escapes the bowels of hell, Satan is forced to send a damned soul back to Earth as a demon hunter. Armed with a sacrificial dagger, Ed returns to his old stomping ground to capture the demon before the universe is destroyed. Ed Gein, Demon Hunter. Issues 1 and 2 available now on Indiegogo. Prepare for the ultimate face-off.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com, Chief Envelope Licker for Critical Blast Logistics, Myopic Proofreader for Critical Blast Publishing, and I answer the phones for Critical Blast Consulting. Tonight, we are going to go back to the well for crowdfunded comics. We spend a lot of time there. It's a fun place. So let's join our creator tonight. Have Mr. Anthony Stokes come on and tell us about DECAY. Anthony, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to do so. I owe you an apology, man. I was talking last night at the end of the stream and announcing who was coming up, and I got you and Belmont confused because Belmont is the writer of Smokes the Fox, and your Twitter handle is Stokes the Writer, and something got cross-wired in my brain. I was like, hey, Anthony Stokes will be on tomorrow, probably talking about Smokes the Fox. I'm like, wait a second. That's just too much of a match. That can't be right. And it's not. It's absolutely not right at all.
Reasonable mistake.
Well, you know, I was already into one of these, and we're going to pop the top on this one to start tonight's show as well.
Almost grabbed some. Kicking myself.
You should never leave a stream less than half lit.
Yeah.
Maybe they just get more and more fun. We had a stream 2 weeks ago. Hart Fisher, supposed to be an hour long, just like they all are. Went 4 hours and 7 Jack and Cokes. That was a fun stream.
Okay.
I didn't have the Jack and Cokes. Hart did. And the more he had, the more interesting that conversation got.
I believe you.
So tell us about DECAY. I mean, what kind of what kind of a book is Decay? I get a horror vibe, obviously, but is it more than just that, right?
Absolutely. So it's a horror, like supernatural thriller, like thematically, I would say it's like a mix of The Crow and Frankenstein.
Okay.
So it's a very gritty, very atmospheric horror, that can be graphic, but it's mostly about the characters and the atmosphere.
Now, is it one long story? I mean, is it, or is it, because a lot of horror books, especially with, titles like Tales of Decay, like we saw on the cover there, they're anthologies. What are you working with here? Long form or
it's a mini series? It's a 5-issue. So
okay, but it's all one story then.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Very, very cool. Mike Walters in the chat stopped in to like and share the stream. Always appreciate that. And Mike will be going live with his show at the top of the next hour. So you folks have a place to go when we close the doors here. Let me share the stream here, and we will get the Kickstarter page up. You're doing well. You got only 8 days to go, but you've passed goal, which puts you in the top 10% of crowdfunded comics, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, it's doing really good so far. I got a certain number I want to hit, but it's not looking too bad. Everybody knows those last 2 days are super, super crucial.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's also when you get a lot of the traffic, because especially with Kickstarter, but with any crowdfunder, they're always like, get in at the last moment, and then it's more like buying a book than funding a book.
Yeah,
so to speak, psychologically speaking. Kickstarter will, of course, take your money right then if you back on the last day, rather than you having to remember, don't spend that money. It's allotted already by somebody else. They're going to try to take it later on. This is, of course, number 2, but it's being billed as 1 and 2 because you've got catch-up opportunities, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So have you done books in addition to Decay? Is this still your first story, or have you been working on other projects aside from these?
It's my first published work. I think I've written a lot of stuff, but this is the first thing that I've really published.
It's a good feeling, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when that box comes in from the printer and you're like, these are mine. It's got my name on it.
It's surreal. It is really surreal. I mean, I just had a launch party this Saturday with friends and family, and it's no better feeling. That's what we work for. Yeah, it shows that you're accomplishing the dream. Alejandro is also somebody out there accomplishing his dream. We're going to see Columns of Creation from him in the sometime by the end of the year, right, Ali? It's being revamped, but it's a good looking book. So give us the elevator pitch on Decay. I mean, how'd you come up with the title, and what's it mean for the story itself? Absolutely. So Decay, it has a double meaning. So it means like moral decay, right? Like, okay. So somebody their morals are shrinking, they're getting worse. There's also decay as in the sense of like physically, it's an undead story. Their body is rotting. It's in a bad shape. It's been reanimated. So when you think of decay, you think of like death, you think of corpses, etc.
And this is your main character, is this corpse?
It's that or the sister, depends, like how you want to look at it. Okay.
Why is he back? I mean, is he like one of many, or is he sort of a singular event?
This is so essentially it's a brother and sister, and their parents pass away in Hurricane Katrina, and that's their only existing family. So she practices voodoo, and then when the brother dies, she brings him back essentially. So it had to be a scenario where you understand there would be consequences, but you don't really care in that moment. You just want your family member back,
Yeah, and if you're going to have a singular undead as opposed to the whole zombie invasion, New Orleans is the place you want to put that story, because it's just so rich in Creole history and voodoo and hungans and
I say it has its own comic book lore, essentially.
It does. It does. Oh, I was privileged. My second book that I wrote was for Telos Publishing, and they had a Doctor Who spinoff. called Time Hunter, and the main character of the books was Honoré Le Chasseur. He was a Black American expatriate living in London in 1952, post-war. And I was like, you've gone this long, and you've even said that, you know, he's developed a British accent so that, you know, people wouldn't, you know, think he was from somewhere else. Like, why have you never mentioned that somebody with that name and that skin color is obviously Creole and is from Louisiana?
Yeah.
So I gave him backstory in the novel that I got to write for them, The Sideways Door with Troy Reiser. And just looking at what story elements I could pull from that time period and from the period of his childhood, there was the Royal Street Vampires, which they were kidnapping people, tying them up in chairs and draining their blood and drinking it. It's like,
holy shit.
That's an Anne Rice novel, but this was newspaper headlines.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, it's a creepy place.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there. Makes it a great setting, some beautiful location. It's a melting pot within a melting pot. So it's fascinating. So
do you have connection with Louisiana?
No, it just made sense to set it there, like we talked about with all the history and the voodoo backstory. It just made too much sense.
Did you what was the research like going into it? I mean, you know, you don't want to hit a reader with something where they're like, oh, wait a second, no, that absolutely doesn't work because this and this, because there is that reader out there all the time.
I think it's like a healthy blend of being able to do enough research to fill in the story, but not use too many real life events to where, you know, you're disrespecting something or you're disrespecting culture. So I did a lot of Googling. I did a lot of just looking at landmarks. And then just wanted to just mainly visually was a big thing for me, just making sure that it got some of those beautiful buildings, some of those beautiful structures and such.
Now, are you doing the art on this? You hired an artist?
I hired an artist. Yep. Okay,
so you sent him lots of pictures, then said, you know, this is the scene for this one, this is the scene for that one.
Exactly. No, absolutely. You definitely want to help your artist out in that way.
So the brunt of the story is, of course, you know, she's grieving. She brings her brother back. It's her last remaining family. How do you get 5 issues out of that? I mean, you know, what do they do after that? He'd sit around and eat breakfast, talk about what it was like being dead.
You want me to give away all my?
Well, no, but you know, that's setup. You know, what's plot?
I'm trying to be vague here. Forgive me. It's the revenge aspect of it, I guess, would be the big thing. Like, he gets revenge on the people he blames for getting killed, and that's the meat of the story as well.
So he didn't just die; he was unjustly killed.
Yes.
So there's your plot.
That's the Crow. Yeah, that's the Crow influence.
It's the Crow. And like I said, well. Now, I've seen, you know, I've read The Crow. I've seen multiple versions and read Frankenstein. Lovecraft Country is on my list. I'm 2 episodes in. And The Monkey's Paw, I recall that story, but I keep getting it confused with The Bottle Imp when it comes to what the plot structure was.
Essentially, it was like a morality tale. Like, and that's what I really liked about it. It's just like, you're giving somebody an impossible choice, and just knowing that you would do the same thing, and it makes it like it's a special kind of compelling when the character does something, because characters have to do stupid things or dangerous things to make a plot, but when there's like a justification, that just makes it all the more better.
Exactly. You have to have the justification. There's you know, we always hear that truth is stranger than fiction. The second part that most people don't know about that is because fiction has to make sense. You can't just throw things at the reader and then go, huh? Real life's not like that. You know, real life is and almost 24/7s.
Exactly.
But you have to be the omniscient narrator and have a reason for everything here. And this is, of course, where I'm going to guess this is the arrival of the brother. She's done the ritual, and it's knock knock, who's there? That's a setup line if I ever saw one.
Yeah.
and I just love the foreshadowing here because it's like you don't have to see who it is. You know who it is. It's going to be the brother. Now, is this scene here? Is this him having been returned, or is this him pre-murder?
This is him. This is him having been returned.
Okay, because that was what I wanted to ask about was what he was like as a returned undead character versus what he was like before that. Because so many times you see the undead and they're like Frankenstein in the movie, not like Frankenstein in the book, who was very lucid and philosophical and thoughtful.
Yeah,
they're just like,
which is creepier.
Yeah, it is.
You feel bad for him.
I was, speaking with somebody a couple of weeks ago about zombie movies. Like, how come we never get smart zombies? They're always shambling. Sometimes they're fast, but they're always, just in mass chasing brains. Why doesn't one of them pick up a pair of car keys and like, oh, I know what these are for, and just take off in a car and just.
There's examples of that though.
Yep.
Shaun the Dead did that. Army the what was it? Army of the Dead, the Zack Snyder movie that just came out.
Oh, I missed that one.
Yeah,
that's seen actually so many zombie movies that I just don't get into anymore.
Yeah. Like after, that's something that they've turned on its head for a while. But I agree with you. There's also Warm Bodies, with Nick. I forgot his name. But yeah, no, I agree with you. It makes it a lot more interesting. And so when you're selling it, is it a zombie story? You're kind of like, depending on how, like, if they're asking it like enthusiastically, like, oh yeah, it's a zombie story. It's the best zombie story you've ever heard of. But they're like, oh, it's another zombie story. I'm like, nah, not at all. Like,
it is, but it isn't.
You got to pivot.
So he's a fairly lucid zombie. I mean,
he's more or less the same person, as far as we know.
Is it now? How do zombies work in your universe? I mean, because in the traditional sense, it's like headshots. But if you're going to go with Louisiana lore, a lot of time there, their zombies were based on people they thought were dead because they were poisoned with a certain powder, and then they would come back and they would be, devil's breath. You need to look that one up. That's how these Hungans would convince people that zombies were real, because they would put people into these, psychedelic trances where they just like, their brain is shut off and they're just very suggestible. And sometimes they would, be considered dead and get buried, and he'd like, no, you ain't dead. He's breathing, digging back up. Not embalmed, of course. That would take care of the killing if they
that would do
did
it.
The autopsy.
So it's I really don't want to give too much away, because that is
no, don't. I get that, but at the same time, I got to try and pull out what I can,
Yeah, exactly. No, I understand.
Woody Muller is in the chat. He likes the plot setup. So Woody, if you like that, I would encourage you throw money at the campaign there.
Please.
We'd love to see it go up some. Herwenberg is here, of course, always with our links. We're glad to have him with the wrench and the hammer both working in the chat. What if your family was killed in a gang shootout and you had a chance to bring them back? Back Anthony Stokes DECAY number 1 and 2 on Kickstarter, and there is the link. The link also, folks, if you're watching this on replay, is clickable and right below the video. It's the very first thing you see. You can click it now. You can click it later. Click it now, please.
Click it, please.
Yeah. And there were plenty of cars in the Monroeville Mall parking lot. Yes. So I'm gonna check out that Army of the Dead to see. I want to see driving zombies. I did see Dead Bodies, or at least I was familiar with Dead Bodies. I didn't watch it. Not Dead Bodies, Warm Bodies. And I didn't think about them being capable of those kind of things, because all I saw was teen romance. I'm like, but yeah, that does sort of. Wasn't it? The boy. Oh no. Well, yeah. He was a zombie. The girl was human, and
yeah, it was a sub. I mean, yeah, it's I think the zombie genre works best as a subgenre. Typically, you can absolutely make a straight up zombie movie, but it's gonna, like, Dawn of the Dead, the remake, is like extremely clever. It was written by James Gunn. It takes a lot of writing, because you're essentially making a bottle film, which again isn't impossible to write a good movie, but you're definitely like kind of pinning your arms back. You're kind of writing yourself into a corner. If you make it a subgenre where we have something else going on, we have a romance if it's Warm Bodies, we have a heist if it's Army of Thieves, or I keep forgetting the name, but yeah. So it's even DECAY, yeah, as a subgenre, like as a subgenre, I think it works. When you lay the thriller brother sister dynamic on top of it.
Yeah, and I think we've seen a lot of them as a subgenre movie, and never really thought of them as being zombies, because they were returned and they were lucid. Bruce Willis, Death Becomes Her. I think it was Bruce Willis and Goldie Hawn and Faye Dunaway, where the wives came back from the dead. My Boyfriend's Back, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I guess I have seen smart zombies. I just haven't been paying attention to it. Is he being a zombie now? Is he fairly invulnerable, or stronger, or at least less damageable?
I'll say he's dead at this point. So you can't kill him by traditional means.
That's good enough. Fire away, boys. Unless you get a headshot in, he's not going down. So let's look at the tiers that you've got here. Digital copy, $5. That's a great. I clicked on that for the shipping. It's a digital tier, you moron. But yeah, we have a lot of people who can only get the digital, so always glad to see that. Now this is a PDF delivery too, so
anybody that backs the digital, I'll do it. I'll send you the PDF immediately. It's already done.
Oh, so issue 2 is a fait accompli.
It's completed and it's printed out. I have some in my closet. I could grab you a copy right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was very important to me to get it ahead of time so I could show it, be like, hey, like it's not even a proof of concept. It's just like, okay, it's here, you know.
They're done. Okay, so here's our next goal, folks. He's going to be delivering these in June of 2022. That's next week. So basically, when this is over, you start fulfilling. Let's send him back to the printer because he's got a finite number. So order more than he has available. Let's get that taken care of. You can get the digital catch of $2 more. Get issue number 1 with your issue number 2, so you know the whole story at one time. $10 for issue 2. That's pretty much the standard. $5 shipping. Don't know how you're pulling that off, but congratulations.
You know, the way you balance it, you kind of it's all kinds of stuff. You make some things back up. It's, everybody figures out a way.
Sure. I didn't scroll down far enough to see what you might have in terms of, well, the rewards are obviously the books. This is interesting. That's a variant cover.
Lane Lloyd did that one.
Okay, so you do have a variant cover number 2, at least one of them.
2 of them.
Two variant covers. Here's the other one. Oh, I like this because this communicates zombie, because you're seeing that skull structure through the skin. And I could ask, is he decaying? But that's the title of the book, so I think it already gives that much away. Which is also interesting, because while you can't kill a zombie through traditional means because they're already dead, they do kind of sort of come with an expiration date. Kind of like Spawn did, when he came back. You're like, here's your ticker. You're gonna run it in 300 or so issues. And then this is the retro variant. So you got, this is issue 1's variant cover.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the one I actually used for the. I love this, by the way. I love these EC homage covers that people.
That is the best seller.
And rightfully so. I've got an EC version of Confederate Monster right here behind my monitor on the wall here. So hint, if this were a poster, I think people would buy it and hang it up. And then here's the traditional cover here with the standard logo on it. All of these are available on this campaign. Now we're getting into the more than just the book.
Yeah,
so,
I got some necklaces which are from the comic book.
Okay, so this is what your main what the sister wears in the book?
The brother wears.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There I go being gender sexist, whatever it is. Oh, it's a necklace, obviously. Is that part of the ritual, or is that just what he wore all the time?
No, that's part of the ritual.
Okay. So folks, if you got, a loved one that you need to bring back, right here, you
might work.
Yeah, it might. What do you got to lose, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not sure that they've been blessed or cursed or whatever it is that you get. Okay, here this is everything right. You got a mixtape. Tell us about the mixtape, because that's an interesting add-on.
Absolutely. So I know a bunch of musician friends, and they make music, and I send them a copy. I said, hey, come up with whatever you think of when you read this. So it was super cool to me to involve my friends, make it like a team win, and hopefully get them some exposure as well,
Yeah, well, shout them out. What's their band?
It's not one person. It's like 6, 7, 8 artists.
Oh, a bunch of people who are performing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and with the way it works these days, it's so easy to make music with the technology. You can make a studio in a basement, in a closet. They have studios, so
here I am.
Everybody's making music. Beautiful.
Well, I'm not making music, but I do have a studio, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now you can be drawn into the background. What's the difference here between drawn decay and drawn background?
So it's drawn decay style. So like one's a commission, the other one you get drawn in, and then to super fan you get drawn in, and you get drawn as you get a commission.
Perfect.
Yeah,
you get both of them in a cheaper rate. So go super fans. I did not share the stream with video. I want to hear some of the music, so I'm going to stop the share and reshare it with the sound on. This is something StreamYard you could kind of fix so we can do this on the fly. Aardvark, welcome. Glad to see you out there. American Comics, loving to see you guys too. And yes, Heroenberg encourages folks to follow Comic Book Ant, aka Anthony Stokes, on Twitter at Stokes the Writer. Now let's take a listen to some of this soundtrack for the comic.
It's aggressive. It's very curse heavy, by the way, as well.
Riding down the street, I got a trunk full of that perk. Please do not try me, I keep that heat under my shirt. You run up on me, I put that 30 clip to work. You run in the street, I let that 30 clip disperse. Riding around the city in the best whip.
This is actually my best friend in the background. Yeah, so it's cool. Kind of a grittier sound that I was really looking for, to match the tone of the comic book.
Yeah, I mean, is the soundtrack, do you have it keyed to certain scenes where you're like, hey, if you're reading this part, listen to this?
No, it's just more like general vibes. Like I said, it's not like it was just that's why it's a mixtape, not a soundtrack. But because it's just like music that was inspired by, But you can do that if you want. You can.
Yeah, well, I didn't know it. That because I could see, using it as a soundtrack, using the comic as a storyboard, just sending both to Netflix and saying, "Hey guys, think about this."
One of these days, everybody's doing it, so why not you, right? That's my attitude exactly.
Yeah, and American Comics is agreeing with you on the studio thing. Van Halen's 5150 studio is Eddie Van Halen's house. Yeah, absolutely. Is there any New Orleans bounce on the soundtrack or marching band dirges? Because Saints Go Marching In is what you always think of when you think
you gotta bite to find out.
There you go. That's the answer right there.
No. Mostly. I want to address it like Van Halen, for instance, had a studio, but like it's a lot cheaper now to make music. It's a lot cheaper to make anything on a indie level. And then no, it's no bounce. Mostly some rap, a little bit electronic, some stuff with some synths, and a lot of One's a grunge song that I like pretty well. Like my friend Aaron is very talented. He does like kind of like a Nirvana type thing. So it's got a little bit of, it's got some dexterity.
Yeah, but the traditional New Orleans jazz really wouldn't fit the story.
It would not. And I don't know any jazz musicians.
Stretch goals on here. You've hit the first one, which was issue 3 cover reveal. So where is issue 3 cover? You did hit the first one, right?
Yeah, you got to go to the updates.
Aha. So that's where I've got to do that. I'm launching a campaign on 6/6 at 6 next 2 weeks from now. So I need to know where to do my updates. That would be my first campaign.
Hit the read more.
Unlocked, and
that's issue 2. That's issue 2, and you can scroll down to find issue 3. That's issue 3 right there.
Okay. Now, who is this? Because this is not the brother.
This is the bad guy.
All right, and he's carrying a voodoo doll with him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious who the doll is for, because they're traditionally attached to a single person, right? I mean,
it's more of a motif. The voodoo doll. It's
okay. So it's
3 of the covers. Yeah. So
he's carrying it around as sort of an accessory.
Yeah, I'll play coy. I like to play really coy.
I mean, I'm thinking back. What was it? There was totally switching genres here, but there's a connecting thread. Trust me. Teen Titans, new Teen Titans. When they used to battle the, not the brother. It was like maybe it was Brotherhood.
Just the cartoon or the book, the
books. No, never the cartoons. But the books. One of the 5 villains on the team was called Hungan, and he was a cyber voodoo doctor, and it was basically, he had electronic dolls, and if he could get like a snippet of hair or any sort of DNA and put it in there, then it was then it worked.
Okay.
he could cause you pain.
All right.
It was kind of weird. Hey, glad to see this. What's your connection to Rabbit's Badass Song? Because we just had these folks on here the other day.
Yeah, no, we talked, and we just help each other out. Just look out for each other. It's a great looking campaign. I haven't read the book yet, but I'm looking very, very much forward to it. Yeah,
me too. I told him I tried to introduce him to a guy on Twitter who makes these Freddy and Jason masks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not like it's a hobby. He does it for Hollywood. I was like, you need to talk to him, get a rabbit mask made. And folks,
Absolutely.
If you're curious about this, just hit the playlist. Last week we had Rabbit's Badass Song on here.
Mm-hmm.
We're traveling in the same circles. We had Red Scare on just a week before that. So
yeah, absolutely. So it's everybody's we do a lot of the same stops, and we're doing the promotion stuff.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm also still in the update section. That could explain why I'm suddenly seeing different things here. Now, you got this listed as a sequel. It's not really a sequel, is it? I mean, it's chapter 2 of the same story.
It's not really a sequel. It just sounded cool to me, like at the time.
And
had some ominousness.
Yeah, he's back again. Now, you mentioned it was a mini series. Are you looking at, like, did you say 5 issues?
5 issues. Yep, already written out.
And how big are these issues?
Issues, they're 24 to 28 pages, and issue 3 is working on page 8 right now. Working on page 7 and 8. So issue 3 will be done should be having a Kickstarter in October.
We'll be looking for that.
Everything goes right.
Is this your sole focus, or do you have other titles that you're starting to ignite?
I'm working on other titles too. And the benefit of having it already written and is that you can compartmentalize. So I can be working with one artist over here and another artist over here. I definitely want more titles. I definitely want to work with different artists and stuff like that. So I'll be dropping some more stuff. I mean, I don't have an official release yet, but the new stuff should be out January of 2023, hopefully.
All right, and it sounds like you're going to have the third issue done again before you launch the campaign. Is that your typical goal? Have the book done before you launch something?
The goal is to have it printed before.
Printed, so that's even fully done.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how fast they respond to the rewards, my plan was to fulfill. I could fulfill 50% of it because it's mostly digital. Literally, the second the campaign is over, you know, and then I can do the physical rewards. A lot of those the next day, you know, if they respond to the survey. So for me, it's about fulfilling as fast as possible and establishing a good producer-consumer relationship, though, with that they know, hey, this guy's going to deliver.
Yeah, it's in fact, is that something you've seen cause an increase in sales on number 2? Because, you know, that first book, they don't know you. Second book, if you've delivered your first book, they know you and they know you've put product in their hands. Are you seeing the fruits of your labor coming back on that?
It's more so new people. Like, if you look at it, like the cost per pledge is a little low. That's because a lot of people are pledging digitally. So it's more like people are trying it for the first time. So now I have to capitalize on that, and hopefully I can convert some of those digital backers to physical backers with issue 3.
Are you going to keep enough supply so that you can always have that backlog going? I mean, when you're up to issue 5, will people still be able to get issue 1?
They'll have whatever. I mean, I'm always going to have to carry issue, like the standard covers of issue 1 through 5. I'm definitely going to have the retro cover around, but I got to kind of see, like, all right, what's selling the best? Because if it's selling really hot at a con, then yeah, I always have it. But like some of them, like probably not, to be honest. It's just whatever I have on hand. Then you just don't mention that. You just don't mention that book when you do the Kickstarter.
All right. And then at some point after issue 5, trade paperback thoughts?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, folks, don't go waiting for the trade paperback. The book is cheap enough as it is. You can read along and then
$7.
And then file it away. Yeah.
$7 for 2 books. It's a good price.
So I'm trying to think what more I can ask you about this book, because I mean it's a 5-issue miniseries. There's a bad guy whose name we don't know. I don't even know if the bad guy was responsible for your main character's death here in the first place.
He certainly feels like it. The main character certainly feels like he is.
Okay. The house looks nice. The sister looks educated. How in the world does she learn voodoo? You know, nice parents, assumably. Did they know she was studying these voodoo rites, or was it a family religion?
No. So the mom and dad were Christian. The mom and dad passed in Hurricane Katrina. And that's what if you scroll down, you can see one of the covers with all the blue, the one, the skull, the X-ray you liked.
Yeah, I did see the streets flooded out there.
So that's Hurricane Katrina. So their parents passed, and then so I think what's interesting is that when you look at different cultures, they deal with death differently. There are certain religions. I think it's every non-Western religion that I can think of. Death is like just the first step. You know, you have like the Day of the Dead with the South American culture. You have I think Buddhism has like reincarnation. So it's from what I can tell, it's really only Christianity or Catholicism that has like, okay, well, death is just it. Where most of the other cultures, it's like it's just one part. And I think this sort of thing would appeal to you, the idea of like death not being recontextualized as something that's not negative if you lost your parents, you know, in this sort of way.
Yeah. And, you know, even Christianity in New Orleans, death is a party.
Okay.
I mean, I think
I've heard that before.
It's wailing and gnashing of teeth elsewhere, but like they, you know, asked about the marching jazz bands. You ever see a funeral procession in New Orleans on video? It's moving.
Okay.
Yeah, it's it's quite an event. Have to check that out sometime.
Mm-hmm.
So she sees death as a next step to deal with the death of her parents. If she sees that, if she sees death as a next step, what truly motivates her then to pull her brother back a step?
Well, I mean, I think she believes that, but I definitely think she'd rather have her brother. Like, I would argue that's the reason she would do that if she thinks that it's not. I mean, it challenges her belief a little bit, right? Like, it's pretty traumatizing to lose your brother, you know.
So the other question I have about this, and I've had this question every time somebody comes back from the dead in comics, which is the worst possible way to have the question because you can't get a real answer. Whatever the writer wants is what the answer is going to be. But does he say anything about where he was before, between the time he died and the time she brought him back?
No. To be 100% honest, no.
So leaving that dark and blank. I get frustrated with things like, remember when DC Comics did Brightest Day, right after Blackest Night, and they brought back a bunch of characters from the dead. Half of them were villains, and the first thing they did was do villain things. And I'm like, hell exists in the DC universe. We saw it. We saw you in it. You should be like, please don't send me back where I was. I will do everything good. Let me join the Justice League.
No, you're right. That makes sense.
But I just didn't know if yours was going to deal with what he might have seen.
It's mostly low premise. Like, it's mostly kind of like very grounded, you know. So I didn't think to delve into that sort of territory is more so. It's more
so the supernatural element is very muted, and it's more going to stick with the street level revenge story stuff.
The revenge and the brother sister. Yeah, exactly.
Again, like the Crow. Then he's back from the dead, but he's not doing magic tricks.
No, he's not. No, he was not.
Very cool. All right. Well, I think that's all I could ask about this. I think I'm kind of hitting the wall. I don't want to because we got a few more minutes. We could talk about something. Is there anything about the book that you want people to know, and we just keep dancing around the subject?
Well, I think it gets better with every issue, genuinely. And I wrote it to be very much. I wrote it as if it's one story. So it's going to be it's got a conclusion in mind. I've written it already, and so this is something that's going to happen. It's going to be completed. Like it's not like you're going to go out on a limb and then it's going to not get fulfilled. Or it's going to stop. Like we've already worked on issue 3. I already have the cover for issue 3. You have a cover for issue 4 already. So this thing is moving. You're not going to back this and be disappointed.
And since it's 5 issues, I'm guessing you've already got an executive summary where everything's plotted out anyway. You just got to flesh it out into story now.
It's already written. Yeah. The script's already written.
Perfect. How'd you find your artist, and what made you choose the one you found?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I was on Reddit, r/comic book collabs, and that's where I found them. And we did a few things, and then they were reasonably priced, and they worked really well. And they were budding. I was budding, so it just made too much sense. And I found my other artist, Portless, who I'm making a series with. We're talking about. I found him on Twitter. Just you see it like, hey, open commissions, Yeah,
I see those all the time, and I'm making a list of get some more wall space in here. I could see myself commissioning some art pieces. Right now, I've run out of wall space. I don't know what I'm going to do with any more pieces of art.
Yeah. I'm trying to start selling some posters. It's so hard because the packaging has to be so big.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you get the posters done on slicks, then you can roll them in the tube. But you can't roll them if they're done on a stiffer, on a heavier weight paper.
Right.
Then you have to mail those flat. I mail 18 by 12s all the time in flat mailers. It's no fun because it's such a big package. And I don't send out anything unless I can put it in a poly mailer because I learned my lesson that cardboard absorbs.
Poly mailers, man. Whoever backs his campaign.
I got giant poly mailers.
Yeah, no, I love them. I absolutely love them. I have one. They're black, and then you slap the label. You slap a separate label on top of it, and oh man, it's like super affordable.
Yeah, yeah, I've got a ton of the basic white ones. I'll see if I can't tilt it. You can see on the corner of the wall there all the different clients that we've fulfilled for with Critical Blast Logistics who opted to go with the printed. See a little bit better if I take that out there. I wanted to go with like the printed bags, so you can see the Company Men, Glenn and Monsterland, Life on Korra, The Embrace, Red Eyes, the Rabbi from Another Planet. They all wanted to say, hey, if we can have that option, let's do it. I'm like, yeah, you can have that option. It's going to cost you more, but you can have that option.
People aren't really willing to, nothing making like frustrates me more, and people aren't willing to pay for like a good product. It's so annoying, you know. Like I was sitting next to this, I was at a con, I was sitting next to this couple, and they do 3D printing, and I was like, how much would it be to make a DECAY 3D print? And they were like, oh, you know, I don't, they didn't want to tell me. I'm like, they're like, oh, it might be like a couple $100s. And I was like, that's cool, because I know that now when I can offer it, and if somebody wants it, they can pay for it. But I hate when somebody says something, they say the price for something, like, oh, it's too much. It's like, it's not too much. That's just what it costs. Like,
yeah,
stop being cheap. Can't stand it.
Costs are what they are. Now, I will say that that's a lot for a 3D printed object. I know people who do 3D printing, and the objects aren't coming out at $100 a piece. But
well, do they already have the models?
Well,
so if you have
the start of what you're creating your model, that's a different story. Yeah.
So right, that you probably find a 3D model of like Superman laying around, but an original character, they have to like draw it, and like I don't know, it's a whole other process. So
yeah, I think the ones I've seen, and I have seen original characters, I think the work has been split. Somebody's done the 3D model digitally, and then they take the 3D model to a 3D printer and say, here's my model, can you print?
Makes sense.
Yeah, I've done the 3D. I went to a convention too where they did 3D printing, and they cheated. They had it was something out of Stargate. You stood on this disc, and it's like, you know, stand real still, and the camera went around you like 5 or 6 times from top to bottom, and that's how they got the 3D model. And the print came out looking just like me, only Dungeons and Dragons sized. But it was cool because, you know, people were in cosplay, and they were like, you know, cosplaying their original characters, and this was a good way to get a 3D scan of your original character.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's definitely cool. It's definitely a service that people want, for sure.
Yeah, just find a cosplayer, and then you don't have to find a sculptor. Just say, let me just get some pictures of you in here.
Yeah, take 1,000 pictures. rotate around you.
So yeah, definitely look at doing some posters, I think, because your covers here, a lot of them definitely lend themselves to being wall hanging worthy.
Some of them are already. Actually, like every poster I have is pretty much a cover. I have, so it's because again, it costs a lot. It cost me a lot for my variant arts. The retro cover costs like almost 300. The Hurricane one costs almost 300. But you make the money back with the poster. Like the margins are really good on that. So
yeah, and you know, you don't have to even make them that big. So a lot of the prints I see come in, they're as big as the comic book cover. It's almost like you just got a spare cover come in. Sometimes they're a little bigger, but they still fit in the Gemini. You can get an 8x10 or a 9x11 inside. Just stick it in. Sometimes they come in the bag with the comic. They're on the back side of the board. So, Anthony, we are at the top of the hour.
Okay.
And I think we've covered this pretty thoroughly. We'll remind the people in the chat that the link to DECAY number 2 and number 1 is still below the video. Pinned it to the top of the chat. You can hit it either way you want right now. Of course, if you're on replay, underneath is your only option. 6 days left to go. And you are at 177. Oh, 8 days left to go. I'm sorry, I shortchanged you.
I'll let it go. I wanted some more sense of urgency, you know.
Okay. Well, it's ending tonight. Get out there and throw some money at this. It's not that much. It's an interesting story. You know, I love a good Gothic New Orleans story. It's a beautiful setting, interesting topic. There you go. That's the plug. Get out there and buy the book.
Absolutely. Whoever backs digitally tonight, I will send you your digital copies as soon as I get the pledge.
There you go. So instant gratification, people. What more can you ask for?
Not sure.
Thank you so much for bringing this onto our show tonight and sharing it with our viewers. I really appreciate you. Folks in the chat, always appreciate you. We don't have a show if you're not here to watch it. And as always, while you were here, we just hope you had a blast. Good night.